Welcome to our Sefaria tutorial. We can spend some time today, and if people want to go further, we could think about a second time. But today, the goal will be just to orient ourselves to the site and all the different features and resources that are there. So Sefaria is an online digital library. I'm going to share my screen so that you can see the, here, I think everyone should look at my screen, but the website is just sefaria.org, which I just sent out. And now I will share my screen. So this is a great resource to check in on often, because it orients you to the Jewish calendar in addition to being a library. And what I mean by that is that on the right-hand side in the bar here, there are learning schedules. So it shows you what parsha it is in America, right? If you sign on in Israel, it will be different at different times of year. But for most people, it's the same. It shows you the Haftorah. It shows you the page of Gemara in the 7-year cycle of Daf Yomi. If you click on all learning schedules, which I did earlier today, there is the 929, which is the Tanakh Yomi. So like a chapter of Tanakh every day, a daily Mishnah, a daily Rambam. And I think that these are, not all of these are super popular. Like I think some people know about Daf Yomi and some know about 929, but it's a nice way to be learning something that people all over the world are learning with you, right? So if you click on, the daily Mishnah, it just brings you to the page. My settings, and I'll show you how to do it, are Hebrew and English. So it has them both here, and you can just read the Mishnah that, it looks like these first two are sort of the Mishnah of the day here. I would say I probably most often click on the parsha if I'm doing that. And what's nice about it is when you click on the parsha, it tells you the name of the parsha, and it will tell you the aliyot. It should tell you that. It should tell us like when we hit Sheni, which is also just nice because it's like sort of holding your chumash in your hand. Although I don't see it right now, but it should do that. I'll show you how to do that. So that's one thing that you can do when you're here, is just to look at like what's going on that day or week in the world of Torah. And then you can see that everything else is split into topics. So Tanakh, Mishnah, Talmud, Midrash, Halacha, Kabbalah, right? Mystical works, liturgy, Jewish thought, the Tosefta, which is a companion to the Mishnah, sort of like what got cut out, Chassidut, Musar, Responsa, Second Temple, and Reference. And now you could go to any of these categories, and you could look at some of the interesting people of Chassidut, right? So here it's separated into early works versus Breslov versus Chabad versus Ishbitz, Rav Tzadok Kohen, right? So it just sort of categorizes them differently. And you can see that it will tell you a brief sentence about what the book is, right? Insights on the book of Breshit by Rabbi Yaakov Yosef. I think some of the Parsha crew here has seen my Midrash spreadsheet. I made it using Sefaria in this exact way. So I went to, I've upset my computer. Whoops, I left Sefaria. I went to the Midrash meta bucket, right? And it would be easy, like if you're someone who likes to browse, right? It would be easy to browse for like hours, because there's an almost never ending, it seems, wealth of information in each place, right? So what I did when I made that spreadsheet is I clicked on each button, and it tells you in the side when it was composed, a little bit about the text, related texts, right? So you could easily just browse the shelves, so to speak, and it would be fun maybe and easy to get lost. I would say that right, so that's one way of doing this. Another way.
Can I ask a question though?
Yeah, please.
So if you click on one of those, does it have the book, the text of the book there?
Great question. I would love for them to put the names of books they don't have, but they don't do that. So this is only what they have, right? So Mechilta Rabbi Yishmael is a halachic legal midrash on the book of Exodus, right? Now here's the thing, is that if you click on chapter 12, verse 1, right, you'll get to this place, but you don't know what you'll find. It's like kind of like opening a book at a random page. They do also have it, you can see that you could organize it by parsha, which makes it a little bit easier. But here, for example, right, it's not the parshiot that we're sort of used to of like, you know, Shmot or Vayera or Bo. It's the way that they're organizing it. So Deshira is probably part of Beshalach, which is like the song at the sea. Amalek is probably from Kitisa, right? Where we read, sorry, not Kitisa, the one before Kitisa, where we read the Zachor at Amalek 2 weeks ago at Shul. But it doesn't like neatly sort of line up, right? It's as though it's the same experience I would sort of like liken it to as like pulling this big old book off the shelf. Like it's hard, in my opinion, to sort of find things in this way. For me, and I'll show you what I would do. So, right, like a twist of the kaleidoscope, is I would go to the parsha that I'm interested in, and this is often how I prepare my source sheets, right? So let's say that I was going to give a parsha share on Vayakel Pekude, which I unfortunately did not this month. If you look up here on the top right, if you click on the A Aleph, you can arrange it English and Hebrew, which is what I usually leave it on, or just the Aleph. You could make the font size bigger. Oh, you could turn on, so it looked like I had the Aliyot off, but you could turn on the Aliyot. Oops. You can change the way that the vocalization, right? So in Torah, you could have just the words. I don't know why anyone would do that to themselves. You could also just put in the vowels if you don't want the Torah trap. Or in the Torah, I leave it just sort of at the most, the highest level. You can put the Torah trap on too. And then you can choose how you want to lay it out. So if you change the layout to bilingual, right, then if you copy and paste, that's what it will look like when you put it on your page. I like it in what is like the traditional Sefaria layout, which is top and bottom, but either, they're all good. And then if let's say you start reading, right, and you read these beginning psukim, and then you get to a place where it says, right, verse 5, and you think, oh, that sounds so beautiful. Everyone whose heart is moved, I want to know more about that. So you click on this pasuk, and you're going to see a whole new menu pop up on the right. And this is like as if you had your Tanakh open with your commentary. Now you can see all the people who have commented on this pasuk. If they don't comment, then they're sort of grayed out. And if they have English available, you can see a little EN, right? So on weeks where I'm feeling tired and not in the mood to do Hebrew, I'll often just sort of scroll and see who has an EN by their name. And you can tell that I've done that because eventually it gets to know you. And it knows that I like the Mefarshim that are always translated, right? These are the ones I must click on the most. Rashi is always on the top, and then it goes in alphabetical order. And the more you click, the more it will rise to the top of your list, right? So I looked at this pasuk, and then I click on Rashi, and you can see that this text only is in Hebrew or English. So you can read it in English, or you can just click and read it in Hebrew. You can see that it's beautifully punctuated for us, and it's not in Rashi script, right? And so it says, oh, what is Nediv Libo? It means Al Shem Shalibo Nodvo, Karui Nediv Lev. And then I can click back and say, well, if I'm not sure what that means, because his heart prompts one to a generosity, he is called a Nediv Lev, one who is prompted to generosity. I've already explained the various materials which form the contributions, right? He's saying, Rashi is saying, I talked about this in 2 weeks ago, Parsha, but it's all here, right? Kvar Peirashi Nidvat HaMishkan. So that is, and then you can, sometimes when I'm looking for a Parsha class, I just sort of click down the list as though I had the page open in front of me, and I look at all the different commentaries as we go, right? Because everyone has like their own sort of different flavor or flair to them. And so we know there are 32 of the like more classical commentators here, right? And if you click on someone who doesn't have English, it just only pops up in Hebrew. When they have it vocalized, like, to me, that's like a plus, but they don't always have it vocalized either. Some of it is like crowdsourced, like Wikipedia English. So I would just say be careful. I've noticed mistakes before when I copy the English from the commentaries. but it's very helpful. And then you can see anywhere where this pasuk is referenced in the Gemara, and it gives you like a little bit of like a hint as to what you might be finding, right? So I'm not sure exactly what the reference is here in the Jerusalem Talmud of Nazir, but we know, oh, Nazir is about one who abstains from wine, haircuts, and ritual impurity from corpses, right? So again, I've like developed sort of my favorite buckets here. So I often look at Midrash. I think Midrash is interesting, right? So, if you go to the Midrash Tanchuma, it will tell you, it will give you, right? So instead of opening the Midrash Tanchuma and thinking, how will I find something on this week's Parsha? My suggestion is that it's easier to sort of go to the Parsha, find something that's interesting to you, and they've already organized it according to that Pasuk. So that's, right, and each, you'll if you spend time here, which I think is fun, I encourage it, you'll get to know like which buckets you like better or worse, right? Like I'm not really interested usually in what the Talmud has to say on the Parsha. I'm much more interested in Midrash or in Chassidut. Looks like there's nothing in English on this piece here, but you can see, all the different choices, and then you click and you'll see what is here. One of the nice things that Sefaria does for you is they link psukim for you. So right, I already said this guy doesn't have any English, but I want to show you in English. So if you find a source that quotes another pasuk from somewhere else, so like as I said in this pasuk in Kings 1, right, Malachim Aleph, if you click on it, it will open a third column in which it gives you that pasuk in English and or Hebrew, right? Of course, you can adjust it however you wish. And so you can say, oh, so let's see, it must be about the word vayikach, right? Here it says, Kechu me'itchem, take from among you. And so the Ibn Ezra, right, here, says the word klu is the opposite of tnu, to give. When a mem follows a word from the root, lamed kaf chet, then it has the meaning of give. The meaning of kluli, take me, and take me, I pray thee, a little water, from, right? So the Ibn Ezra is saying, I've seen this this conjugation of this word before, and here you can see it, right? And so you could rely on the Ibn Ezra, but in this gorgeous website, you can actually go and see it for yourself. And then if you close the window, it will sort of repopulate itself. And you can see that all of the people I've looked at are up here. So it's very easy to toggle back and forth. Oh, what did Rashi say again? Oh, I want to look at the Ibn Ezra again. It's very easy. So that's one way to explore the Parsha, is to use the related texts on the Parsha. But there's also this wonderful bucket called resources. And here there are source sheets. So anyone who wrote a source sheet that they wanted to publish to the website is here. So if you're like, I'm really interested in this idea about gifts, right, you might look down the list. I know Josh Fixler, so I'm going to click on his. You can see how many people viewed it to sort of get a sense of how popular it is. And if you click on it, again, it will open as a window. And you can see all of the sources that Josh Fixler taught at the same time, right? So as you know, with my source sheets, sometimes it's obvious where I'm going, sometimes it's not. So sometimes this is not helpful because you can't listen to him weave the like message or narrative around his texts, but you can get a sense of what people like to put together, right? So this looks like he's talking about that ordering of the Aron, of the building of the Mishkan and the sin of the golden calf. But these are all the texts that he put together. This looks like just a lot of text. Oh, but here we go. So here he brought you the Rashi that he thinks was interesting and the Shemot Rabbah that he thinks was interesting, right? And they're all sort of neatly collated for you here. And he can write whatever he wants. I'm happy to show everyone how to make a source sheet on this site. Something that's nice is like Kasuto is not on this website. It's not yet in the catalog, but he must have that actual book. And so he typed in the Kasuto that he wanted. So sometimes sources you can't actually find on Sefaria are here in a source sheet because someone had access to them themselves. And you can tell when the source is linked here versus when he wrote in the words himself, right? You can't like click anywhere here. So that's two ways of exploring the parsha. One is using what is like more the classical commentaries and midrash or chassidut sort of traditional, or using the sheets, which could be anyone's sort of opinions. And then there is this great thing called web pages, and it tells you how many like blog postings there are about this parsha or about this topic, right? So this topic being the Mishkan or any of the parshiot associated with the Mishkan, right? There are 288 blog postings on Aisha Torah's website. So that may or may not be helpful to you because there's so many, right? But you can see they're mildly well titled. Rabbi Sachs, instead of going to his website, you can like sort of click around here instead. Here there are nice titles also, so you can maybe figure out what it is. You can see like the first few, and you can see that he cites this pasuk that we have. That's why it's here. See, citing Exodus 35, 5-29, or so it looks like this Aliyah citing Exodus 35, the whole chapter that we're in, right? So that's another, some websites are better than others. These are all like, I think, deemed fairly high quality or they wouldn't be here, but that's sort of the basic idea. Some are only in Hebrew, those are listed at the bottom, but most of them are also in English. Then like there was one day where we looked up a word. I forget what that word was. Charles and I were talking about, right? But if you wanted to look up a word, I'm looking for like an interesting word here. Let's see. Let's look up dolphin skins. That's such a wild thing anyway. So orot are skin. So let's see what dolphins are. So you double click on the word tachashim and it will bring up the dictionaries that are on this website for you. So this is saying a tachash is some kind of skin. And you can see places where it's been used, like it looks like tachash might also be actually the name of a person here. And then there are some more, the BDB, which is a more like academic dictionary, but can be very helpful, says a kind of leather or skin, perhaps the animal yielding it is actually the tachash. It could be leather used for women's sandals, the cover of the tabernacle. And again, you can click on all of these psukim if you want to see it for itself in any of those places. And sometimes those can be really interesting with lots of different, so like a faux, a faux is they're using the nose, but if we did a faux, there we go. It's the priestly garment worn by the high priest, woven of blue, gold, purple, and scarlet. So you can see that because you're actually here, right? But it's an interesting, helpful place. And if you're looking for some kind of really interesting word where you want to look up all the other places where it is, this is a really easy way to do that. Another interesting thing as you make your way through a parsha is you'll find some asterisks. This one is not particularly good. I was hoping for a better example. It's usually when a word's meaning is unclear. And I appreciate that Sefaria is willing to, so you could see that this is the second aliyah when you do it this way. Here, let's see. Yeah, okay, so here, this is, right? So this is about everyone who brought everything, right? Men and women, anyone whose heart moved them, kol nadiv lev. They brought an elevation offering, chach v'nezem v'tabat, brooches, earrings, rings, and pendants. And so I guess my guess is kumaz. Kumaz is the word. Yeah, so ornaments, golden ornaments, maybe armlets of gold, exact meaning unknown. So in most translations, you would not know that the meaning was unknown. It would just sort of gloss over it. But here you can see that the meaning is unknown, and you can see it comes up one other time in this source here in Numbers. Some of this is like highly technical. Some of it, is more interesting. It's like you have to look to find it, but sometimes it can be they can be cool, those asterisks. That's often how I pick a topic. So when I come to make a parsha shir, I read through the parsha this way in the Hebrew and English. And if I see something that sort of catches my eye, I'll go to the resources and look for it. But often I look at those asterisks because they're interesting sometimes, like they're a good topic Like if there's a hapex legomenon, I think is how you pronounce it, a word that only appears once in Tanakh, like it will tell you in that little asterisks. So those things can be sort of interesting.
Can I ask a question about back to the underlining the words?
Yeah.
Or so does this resource help you? Like, let's say that there's something that it's hard to tease out what the shorish is and take out all the, tenses and various things. Will
Yeah.
that help you get to what the essence of the word is if you underline or
Yeah.
highlight the
Like
whole thing?
let's see. So Vayatsav Moshe Vaya'aviru, right? So let's see what Vaya'aviru is, right? So you can see
Yeah,
here's the shoresh, right? And
yeah.
then you can see it's a verb.
Uh-huh.
And then you can see where like the different tenses, right? In a nifal tense, it means to be crossed.
Yeah.
Whereas in PL, it means to cause to cross, or interestingly, to impregnate. Right? He feel to cause to pass through. So you could really like delve into grammar on this.
Yeah, because I find, I mean, that's a sort of a personal difficulty sometimes, which is just even if I have my dictionary there, exactly under what am I looking?
Definitely.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say I'm going to take us to a piece of Gemara because the dictionary for a Gemara, the Jastro,
Mm.
is also it's organized only by Shoresh, and it's very hard to know. Sefaria is working its way through Daf Yomi. So if you look at anything that we've done in Daf Yomi, so like we're in Nazir right now, it's really beautifully punctuated and vowel vocalized, I think is how you say, right? The vowels are here. But if you go, let's see if that's still true. I think that if you go to a book that is in the future, maybe they already have SOTs already. I should have gone much further in the future. It's not yet. I remember when they started putting in the vowels, it was very exciting. Let's
Mm.
see. Um, they might have done the whole thing. They were doing it as they went at first. Yeah. See, there's no vowels here. So if you're in Nazir or before, you're sort of in luck because it makes it much easier to read. And if you've gone past there, then it's hard. But let's look at a word here because it's the same thing. This Jastro book is like, if you like these things, it's super interesting to look at, right? So let's look at a word here. Let's see. Like the word I want it to be an interesting word. Hold on. Let's see. Hane'achalim, right? If I had to guess, I would guess that's something about eating. Oh, look, it's not going to do it. So, Kathy, sometimes it won't do it if you double click and you have to just take out you have to figure out what are the words, what are the letters, you have to try to guess what the shoresh is. Okay, we got there, right? So hane'achalim didn't work. Even ne'achalim didn't work. But when we isolated just the inside, we got to them realizing that this is the verb. So even though we started with a nun, it knew that it was a hal, and it will tell you many of the places. It's sort of the same as the regular dictionary, I guess. But if we could find a better word, it would show you like every place it's been in the Gemara and talk about all the different meanings of it. And that is very hard to find, especially with Aramaic. And so it's an amazing thing that like you don't have to figure out the shoresh, as you were saying. And you can see that in every place, there are different sort of related texts. So here, it will have the introduction to the Masechet and the chapter that you're in and a summary. And then the commentary here is going to be Rashi, like it's a whole different sort of host of characters, but it's the same basic idea. It also has resources and web pages and all of that. And translations. Let's see. I was going to show you. What was I going to show you? Hold on. Liturgy is another great box, especially if you download the app on your phone, depending on how committed you are to Jewish text. I have it on my phone. And you can daven on it because it has all of the liturgy. So like I was at my cousin's house for a bris and they had mincha in their house. And my aunt was like freaking out that there weren't enough sidurim. And I said, oh, it's okay. I have it on my phone. Well, so here it's just in English for whatever reason, but if we go here, right? So it has all of the davening, and it also has davening for Shabbat, even if I assume that they imagine most people are not using it for this, but you could like look at it or practice it or whatever. Festivals, brachot, the whole way through. And the same thing in all the different nusachs, right? So Eidot HaMizrach, Sephard, Sephardi, Chabad, Haggadahs with commentary, right? So like if we're getting ready for Pesach, gosh, now it's like I'll start reading. I don't know what that means. Oh, that's interesting. So it's just at the beginning. Right, let's say so it has, and you could print it off here. Like I don't think their printing feature works super well, but if you wanted to know something about Orchatz and you click on it, again, you're going to get this here. And it looks like they have 6 commentaries here, most of them in English. That's cool. So that's another good way. So this is still, I would say, sort of like in the browsing world, right? But like, let's say you wanted to learn about the Haggadah and you didn't know that it was there. If you start typing, it will sort of, right, prompt you to all the things. So the little books are going to be like, it's the actual book, right? If I clicked on it, it would bring you to the Haggadah. The hashtag will bring you to the topic of that word, right? And so here, right, it tells you the Haggadah is whoa, I don't know what just happened. Oh, there it comes, right? Is a classical book that, and you can look at all the sources that mention the Haggadah, basically. You could look, it must be like a very large hashtag. It's having trouble loading, but you can look at the sources themselves, or you can look at the sheets that, right, so like someone who made a source sheet on the Haggadah, you can see all the different source sheets. Or you could just look at the sources. You can filter the sources in chronological order, which is how I like to like build a source sheet. So that's usually what I do. Right. This is not the right place to do that, but it will take you through all the references in Tanakh first, and then on and on. Here, it probably makes more sense to do it by relevance. You can see related, like, oh, you might want to look at this thing, right? Remembrances of Exodus, the 4 expressions of redemption. And for holidays, they're getting really great at this. You can click on Seder on Sefaria. They have this for Tu B'Shvat, they have it for Hanukkah. And here are all the things that they think might help you have a successful Seder in your own house. Right. And so some of them are like super interactive. Some of them are just source sheets. Some of them are ideas, right? Finding the Afikomen. Anything that has this by Sefaria Education is like pretty high quality because someone was paid to do it on Sefaria, right? So this is like a funny, interesting Seder hunt, I guess. Oh, that's funny. It's like for school because you're using it on the computer. Oh boy. What? Oh, come on. Okay, there we go. Let's go back to the right. So if you start by just typing in Haggadah, it will help you. Like you could get to a good place where there would be all kinds of interesting things to help you. Oh, these are virtual mock Seder activities. Maybe I'll do one for kids at shul. Okay, so those are sources, and either like big meta using the parsha to like anchor you to find things, or just typing in the topic that you're interested in, right? If you were learning about the Mishkan this year, this parsha, you could type in Mishkan, and it would bring you to all the Mishkan sources and sheets, right? And here it's telling you, oh, you might be interested in Parshat Vayakel, because right, which is our week's parsha, because that's where the Mishkan is mentioned. So it can be helpful for you. But let's say that you like read about an author. I was just looking at Mendel. Hold on. I was just looking at Moses Mendelssohn. So you can see this little feather means he's an author. Very traditional writing implement. Oh, he's so boring. Let's find someone more interesting. This is a work in progress, obviously, but if you click on Maimonides, there'll definitely be something here. Okay, so it tells you about the author. It tells you when he lived, places that you could learn more. and then also all of the works that he has on Sefaria. So if you're, I don't know if like a more modern author would work. Although I guess if he's on Sefaria, you would be able to find him or her. Um, but it's just I find it to be a useful way to learn about like maybe an author or a character if you type in, Rashi. And then you can see like, let's see, like the Sfat Emet. I don't know if I'm spelling it right. Here I am. So it looks like the Sfat Emet doesn't have a little author guy. Let's see. Hold on. Either I'm spelling it wrong or no, I'm spelling it right. So I guess either they don't have the Sfat Emet, and so they're just showing you places where someone else has done it. I'm trying to think of an interesting commentary that might not have you might not know a lot about. Let's see. I don't know. While I think about it, another way of sort of browsing is by topic. So like when I signed up to do to write a piece for something, I like came here and sort of clicked through, like you could go through biblical figures, which are like all in alphabetical order, right? It's like a little crazy. Not everyone has one, but like Ahasuerus, king of Persia, right? That's gosh, what I was thinking about. Topical. You could look at all of the authors of the works in Sefaria. So if you didn't have one in mind, but you're like, I'd like to sort of do a deep dive in one person, right? Adin Steinsaltz, right? He's a pretty recent character. And you can see Steinsaltz on the Talmud. So here, for example, he's written other books. They're just not on here. Like I think it's called 13 Letters or something, right? He's written a book on the holiday cycle. So Sefaria only knows what it has inside of it. But it's pretty good given that limitation exists, and they're constantly adding more things as well. Oh, here, like the Al Sheikh, right? If you were looking for some kind of interesting commentary, he is one of them. He commented on Tanakh. He lived in the 1500s. His teacher was Joseph Cairo, right? The Shulchan Aruch. So here you can see all of his things, and you can also see his students, right? So there's like an interesting cross referencing here. I wonder what happens here.
Are those people listed by first name though, alphabetically? It looked like all those A's were like Adin Steinsaltz and things.
The Al Sheikh is like his last name.
Yeah, I know, but look
Yeah,
at
I
that
know.
page.
You're right. That is
Oh my
really
gosh.
weird.
I mean,
That's probably not how I would choose to alphabetize something.
so if I want to do something by Kahati, I'm out of luck because I got to go somewhere and look at what his first name was.
Well, but if you typed in, maybe I'm spelling it wrong. Spelling is the worst part of this website because it's sometimes hard to know how to spell something in.
I mean, I'm talking about the Mishnah commentator, right?
I know. Yeah, here, let's see. So what's another way to get there is to, oh gosh. Okay, so type on text to go to Mishnah. Right, click on a Mishnah, basically. Any Mishnah, doesn't matter. Because what you're trying to do here is get to commentary. So Bartanura is here. It's possible they don't have Kahati. Again, it's only as good as what it is. But let's say you wanted to look at the Bartanura, which is sort of a similar thing, then you could find it here, or you could go to, right, then you could type once you know how to spell it. Right. So now you can see there's the Bartanura on Torah, on Pirkei Avot, on all of the different things. And if we just put in Bartanura and hit enter, right, it will find you all the things, and then you can sort by what you want. Right. So like I was just writing a Parsha blog for someone on Vayikra, and I wanted to know all the places. I'm just going to put it in Hebrew because it's easier for me. I want to know all the places where it said reach nichoach, which is like a good smell. And so I clicked that in Hebrew, and it gives you over 1,000 sources, right? So that was not actually terribly helpful to me. So I went into Tanakh and I saw, oh, well, there's one in Breshit, there's 3 in Shemot, there's 17, right? I was writing on Vayikra, so I knew that. And then again, here I don't know why I won't do chronological. Here we go, right? So it's going to tell me all 17 places in Vayikra here where it talks about a good smell. And then if I wanted, I could look down the list and say, oh, well, I wonder if in the Talmud, right, if it's talking about, Pesachim, that's interesting. Maybe it's talking about about the sacrifice. Or if I wanted to see where it talks about it in the liturgy, because I wanted to understand how it permeated our culture. Oh, so that's about Yom Kippur. And so that in that way, you can sort of limit the things that you're interested in learning about. And you can use this little drop down to see the subcategories. So you could do all Musar, right? That would just get you everything. Or you could say, oh, I'm only interested in the Shnei Luchot Habrit. That's like the thing I like, right? Or I think like it's, Tanakh. And then you're like, oh, but that's still so many, right? I'm just curious what it means in Breshit. And then when you click on it, you'll see, oh, this is the story of Noah, right? And God smelled a pleasing odor, right? And so I don't know, the defaulting has gotten a little bit wonky. Right? But now it even highlighted for me the words reach nichach. This is what you were looking for. So that's pretty cool too, as a search feature. Sorry, all of our lovely pictures are making it hard for me. Okay, there we go. So you could always search that way. And you can search by topics, which sometimes is interesting. And there are trending topics. So like before Purim, it was probably lots of Purim ones. And right as Pesach gets closer, it will be lots of Pesach things. You can look through the Parshiot. When you go into Tanakh, it depends what you want to be doing. You can sort it by chapter or by Torah portion. And these are each aliyah separately. So like if you just wanted to see, you wanted to sign up to read Torah, you could say, oh, let's see how long 6 is, right? And it tells you, right? It tells you how long it is, and it gives you all the words, and you would set it up to be in Hebrew and all of that. So that's that. And then in the community button, you can see what people are up to, maybe is what I would say, right? They highlight different, right? On Pesach is Rabbi Bear, who's an excellent educator in Maryland. On the Torah portion, it's Rabbi Brander, who's a YU rabbi who does excellent work also. And I think they try to be pretty diverse. So they won't, they'll try to do a variety. There are different languages. Obviously, if you're someone who speaks not English is doing this, they'll write it in their language. Some sources they also even just have in another language. Here, let's see. I bet Revelicia's source sheet is interesting, right? So, and then the source sheets again, like you don't have all the context of why they brought what they brought here, but you can see all of the sources. And if you're interested in seeing it again, oh, he didn't do it properly to do that, but usually you should be able to click on it and it should bring you there. That's pretty annoying. And it doesn't do that. Yeah. Right. If you sort of properly linked it, it would show up here. So let's see. So community and topics are ways to browse like pretty easily, or to use sort of the daily, whatever the daily thing is. It's very hard to go back because of the way that the website is like hyperlinked or something. There are also I'm not sure. I will admit, I'm not sure exactly how to use this. I think it's an interesting idea. They're called visualizations, and you can explore something in Tanakh in a visual way. I, however, find it very confusing and not very helpful. Um, right, but if you click on it, like this one is about, right, Rabbi Mike Fuhrer is a serious educator, and he is showing us something. The names for Jerusalem that appear maybe in Tanakh. Um, again, I wish that I understood this better because it looks beautiful. I'm sure if someone wanted to play around with it, they would do a great job. Maybe in reference to David, the name of Jerusalem is only used that many times. Again, it's not helpful to me, but if you're a visual learner and it makes sense to you, it looks to me to be very well done, given that I don't understand it. That's saying like an awful lot, but so you can see that like every time I clicked, it makes a new web link. And so it takes a long time to get back. See, to get back all the way to like the Sefaria page that I was on would be very difficult, it seems. But if we went back there just by ourselves, where did it go? We would be able to see it again. Maybe I was on the front page. Here they are, visualization. So again, I'm not entirely sure how to use this, but there are many beautiful things here. And maybe someone could teach that class at a later date. Okay, I have done so much talking. See, like this looks gorgeous. I don't really know. I don't know what it's trying to tell me. But there's so many places to dive in. Definitely I'll open for more questions, although hopefully people felt welcome, like Kathy, to ask as we went, because that was sort of what I was envisioning. It looks to me like this is showing how often text is used, maybe. Yeah, so this is the amount of text in the Sefaria library that's halacha. This is the amount that's midrash. This is the amount that's Talmud. If you log in, which I almost never do, it can tell you what you look at most frequently. This is the English explanation. Oh, that's interesting, I guess. So this is the whole library, and then each bucket is like some little thing in there. I don't know. Maybe that's interesting. I'm happy to do another session at some other time if people want to learn how to make source sheets. I will say that I don't like the way the source sheets look on Sefaria. I think they're sort of clunky. And so I always just cut and paste everything into Google Docs. I think it's easier to share that way. Also, if you make it on here, you can export it to a Google Doc, although then I would just start on my own, or you can make it a PDF. There's always a lot of white space on the page. You're like, I don't know how to see it without logging in.
Can I ask something meanwhile?
Yeah, please.
So is there any review system over the submitted sheets? So if someone adds something, is there any review in it, or?
About that? I would imagine yes. But I'm not positive. But I'm there's certainly a reporting feature. I'm just looking for my sheet so I can show you a sheet. Let's see. I think that when you create a sheet, it sometimes tells you maybe there is a review. I'm not entirely sure. I'm sorry. Here, like let's see. Like I made this for a woman that I tutored once, right? And so I like chose like I tutored her in English, like she didn't really speak Hebrew, and so I just put everything in Hebrew, and I could also embed a Bim Bam video, right, on like what I wanted her to see. And so when she opens it on her computer and I opened it on mine, I could say, oh, just click on the YouTube video and we'll, it's 1.5 minutes. We'll watch that and then we'll come back to the rest, right? So there is like some value in that. But if you look like, let's look at one that I've done for a more learned audience right here. This I made for school. And so I didn't put any English on the page, right? Or a little bit. I shouldn't have put so much English. Right. I put everything on the page. This, when you hit print, is hideously ugly. It's like 6 pages and really big font. So that's why I switched to Google Docs, but I could certainly show you how to do it. It's fairly easy. Yeah. I don't know. What else did people want to know? So have I covered things?
I saw a little sidebar that says something about Havruta. What is that?
Ooh, when was that here?
It was over on the right, under, when you were looking at things like web pages and files and.
Oh, interesting. Let's see. Let's go to something and they're always adding things and they're always changing things for the better. So sometimes I don't even know about something because okay, Chavruta? Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So what is that?
Oh, that's cool. It looks like it's basically like a Zoom.
Huh.
Like if we all went to this and we clicked open your Beit Midrash, that there would be wow, I've never seen this before. So like if my chavruta and I were learning halacha and we both were on Sefaria anyway, it
Uh-huh.
looks to me like you could probably share the text. Because one of the annoying things, right, even when it's laid out so beautifully, is you're like, no here, no there, you know. And so then you could just show. I thought maybe those asterisks would be better. That's really cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, I would say like things just get better and better. You can now listen to the Torah reading. See, so it's reading it to you out loud, right? It goes pasuk by pasuk, so it's like if you wanted the whole thing, that would be hard, but it's like a cool thing. You can compare texts side by side. So even if it's not right, sometimes it's hyperlinked. It's like, oh, you know, the I know that this is cross reference to something else. But if you think of your own cross reference and you're like, oh, I'd like to look, it says, God saw the light. I would like to find the place where Moshe was born because I know that that also talks about light, right? That would be like a kind of crazy thing to know offhand. But let's say that we knew it offhand and that we knew where that was. Where is it? Oh, it doesn't even say it. That's like a Rashi's, right? So this is a hard way to do it, to compare text by yourself, but you could pick your own. So yeah, there's, sometimes I end up with like 15 boxes across the screen because I keep clicking and clicking, and then you have to reorder or rearrange them. But it feels like never ending possibilities. And if you log in, you can save things, right? And then they'll be here for you. Oh, so it looks like I saved these two at some point on purpose, by accident. I don't know. I don't know what I looked at, right? You could see all the things, right? These are all the things I looked at just now today. And then like, these are all the things I've looked at over time, I guess, right? So if you use the site a lot, these things can be really helpful because you can find things that you've done before. I hardly ever log in, so that's not really an accurate representation of my thing, but yeah, I would say that's like the biggest overview we could do of Sefaria.
That's great. I mean, I feel like it's just like a whole game changer about.
Yeah, it totally is. I mean, I feel that way by having it on my phone. Like if someone asks me to share something at a Shiva house, I can like look at the Parsha on my phone with any comment, it's like pretty a wild thing. And even just sitting in our house, like we only have so many bookshelves, but now I have like access to, a library bigger than the size of my whole house. And you can find new favorites. Like, I don't know if people listen to like Pandora, right? Like where they assemble music based on what you like. Here they're not curating it for you, but like I have discovered, I would say, classical commentaries that I like more than I thought I did, because I just clicked down the sheet because I thought, why not? Oh, let's see. Michael is saying, oh, the app is also great. Oh, yes, yes. The phone is very hard because it is very small, but if you can do it, then you can, but yes, the iPad would definitely be better. That's cool too. Yeah, I would just sort of go down the list of commentary. I mean, here there's so many. And it also helps you sort of know what you're about to get, weaving together biblical interpretation with law, philosophy, and mysticism versus the Sforno, who's a 16th century Italian rabbi and physician. And so I sort of got to know commentators in a different way. And I was like, oh, I really like this guy. I didn't know about him before. Sometimes it will say by book instead of by name, but you can always find the name somewhere in there. And I think that's about it. Rev Hirsch is frustratingly not in English. It's in, I don't know, is this German? I don't know. I don't know if anyone knows. But I always click on him hoping that he's actually in English, but he's just in English letters.
Not even, you have umlaut.
Oh, it's not, it's like it's garbled.
It's German.
Oh. Yeah. So, oh well, what can you do?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is great. Really.
Thank you.
Amazing.
All right. Any questions you have, feel free to pass them along. But this was so fun.
Yeah, thank you. Really, thank you for doing it.
Oh, hello, Gerbers. When did you join us?
Just now.
Oh no. I'm so sorry, but I did record this. Hold on.